Okay, now, serious question. Which country starts with the letter W? Any ideas here in the room? Hi and welcome back to a new Hints and Theories video, this time about episode number 4. If you do not know me yet, hi, my name is Julia, and here on this channel I talk about the mole shows as we as the mole. If you're interested in that, then make sure to subscribe to this channel here and follow me on Instagram. And yeah, what should I say about this episode? It leaves me a little bit, not really frustrated, but maybe a bit not so pleased, I would say, since we do not have anybody who went home and we also still do not know yet who's back in the game. Talking about the people who have the chance to come back, there are some theories going on. If you do not want to hear that spoiler, then skip the next 5 seconds. Because people on Instagram try to analyze the keys on the table, and I've seen 2 different versions, but both come up with the solution that Babs is most likely the one who comes back, which is kind of logical because she had a 60% chance. But yeah, in the end, a lot of people are pretty sure about Babs being the one to come back, so keep that in mind. And also very interesting is that in the WIDM app, where we can play that game and put points in on our moles, all 3 photos of the 3 candidates, so of Babs, Justin and Yip, aren't black and white anymore, but colored again, and you can also put points in on them again. So if you think one of the 3 of those is the mole, then you can put points on them again. I've also seen that Babs already has 1%, so that means people actually have put points in on Babs. Yeah, I personally do not think that any of those 3 can still be the mole, because they simply missed too many tasks, too many things going on. But this kind of is a way to make sure you still keep some points, probably, maybe, I don't know. Let's jump to task number 1. In this task we had 2 groups again, and what I want to mention is we also had one group again who had to speak at least a little bit of Spanish. And on the one hand, I think it's great that they are trying to do a lot of assignments with the people living there, with the locals. But on the other hand, I think it's a bit sad that that always leads to the fact that the same people end up in a group. So it's usually then Jeroen and Anna who have to play together, and I think it's a bit sad because we already know how they are acting together, and it's also probably sad for them who just maybe want to switch partners for a time. I don't know, just wanted to say that. I do not think that there was a lot of mole action in that group. Of course, as mole you could have said to buy more things that aren't that obvious, but we know that the other group actually recognized 7 items out of 9 correctly, so I would say the market group actually did a really good job. Also, there was an anti-mole action from Jeroen, because Anna wanted to buy 2 items from one person, and he was like, oh, if we're buying 2 things, can we get a discount maybe? Which works out in the end, so they're also saving money. As more, you would probably like to spend the money as fast as possible so that you cannot buy another item. So actually more of an anti-mole action. So I did not really see anything too suspicious there. If you did, then please let me know that in the comments below. But there's one theory that I actually think is quite interesting, and I would actually agree on that. So if the mole was in the market group, then maybe because the production team wanted the mole to help make sure that the other 3 who were trying to come back into the game, that the other 3 actually would finish their task, that they would actually be returning. So we had it in earlier seasons that the production team asked the mole to help with certain situations so that they would turn out as they wanted to. So it could be an idea that the mole was part of the market group, and was responsible with keeping the other two candidates distracted so that nobody would recognize Justin, Yip or Babs. Let's look at the bicycle group, and of course as mole here you would like to make sure that nobody actually goes for the money so that the market group would not get any more money. You would also like to make sure that the calls last very long, because the longer the call, the less money you can earn in the end. And with that, getting a joker is a perfect alibi for you, because the candidates of course also want the jokers, not earning the money. And as mole, of course, you do not need the joker, but you don't want the money either. So perfect alibi. So if we have a look at who actually called for a very long time, then we see Fons, also Rosario, who did the first call and then encouraged Toske to do it as well. But to be honest, Toske and Case did not really stop the other two, and in the end they all have a joker. And at the end of the task, Case is actually saying a great sentence for mole, because he's saying like, I did not call, I'm not responsible for losing the money. Which is, yeah, simply a great sentence for the mole. And if he's a candidate, then he's like blaming the others while still profiting from a joker. The mole talk had a nice overview of the items and which were recognized correctly and incorrectly. And if we have a look at that stream, then we see that Fons gave the most correct answers, which is, yeah, definitely not more likely. But we also see that Rosario gave 2 incorrect answers and 2 correct ones, which is a bit more suspicious, I think, because he made sure 2 were incorrect, but he also maybe agreed on 2 correct ones to make it a little bit less suspicious. So looking at this overview, then it's probably Rosario who's the most suspicious one here. Before I say a bit more about things that were said during both assignments, let's have a look at task number 2. So we had a lot of weird little games going on here, and what we can definitely say is that this is a task which you can re-watch a few times and most likely still find something interesting or suspicious here. What I can say for now is that both groups failed the geography task, both failed the task with the squares and with the triangles. Now, in the geography task, we had Case who said an incorrect country with the letter W, and not only that, but also right after they finished that riddle, that little game, Rosario came up with the correct one, which makes it suspicious as well, because he actually knew it just like a second too late. And in the other group we had Jeroen, who came up with an incorrect country for the letter C, so Cameroon is written with a K in Dutch, so that one failed. Then we also had Anna, who had problems solving that Rubik's Cube, but Case did it in like a few seconds. And then we had, I think it was Rosario, who was very close in solving the triangles and squares. I think he said like 41 for the squares when it was actually 40, so a bit suspicious here as well. Also, did you recognize that in this task Rian was absolutely in the background? She was so quiet, it was almost like she wasn't there. So not sure if it is because she's not feeling too well there or because it was just not her task. I do not really think that this is the right way to mole, so I do not really see that as a suspicious thing, but it's just something people recognized. So much about task number 2. Let's also quickly talk about what Case and Rosario said between both assignments. So Case, you know, as I mentioned earlier, already had that one weird sentence at the end of task number 1, but also he said 2 other things people thought were a bit weird. After task number 1, they were in that little restaurant, and then he was like, how about we spend that money on the beach tomorrow? which if he is a candidate, he could actually not know that there would be a beach task coming up next. So that was a bit weird for a candidate to do. And while they are on the plane, he also says something that's a bit weird. So he talks about his Other to Be program and that there are usually 3 people on the plane and maybe one of the victims. And now there are a lot of victims with him, nice victims, but still. And I do think it's a weird word for the other candidates, or maybe in general. But if he is the mole, then of course that's a way to see it. Like, those are not candidates for me, those are like the victims of the mole. Yeah, I think you know what I mean. And then there was Rosario, who also had some interesting sentences. The first one also during task number 1 and number 2, when he talked about the fact that he thinks the mole would have liked to be on the market because in the bicycle group the mole wouldn't have a chance to lose that much money, which actually does not make sense, as I explained earlier. And then he also has an interesting sentence at the beginning of task number 2, because he explains to us that he is good in a lot of games and that if it's about gaming then he's in. So a mole who likes to play would actually be a good mole, I think. Now that were all hints and theories and weird things that happened in episode number 4. Let me know if you've spotted anything else and what you think about the things that I've mentioned. Please leave a comment down below and share your hints and theories with us. Also make sure to check out my Instagram. Oh, and by the way, I also always upload the official test question here on YouTube but also on Instagram. And since there wasn't a test this week, it will be even more interesting what they're actually coming up with. So maybe we're getting a question from last week's test again, or maybe from next week's test, or maybe not at all. So that will definitely be interesting during the week, so make sure that you do not miss that and check out my socials. I hope to see you all back next week when we will talk about episode number 5. Until then, I wish you a great week and a lot of fun on your search for the mole. Until then, bye!